we're doing this to retrain our movement, to move differently than her habits. So if you have any aches and pains or areas of your body don't work the way exactly you want to change that. And I didn't invent these things. Other people discovered this. I'm just passing along the wisdom. 2 keys to change the way you movement. Actually go in and reprogram your brain. Reprogram the movement centers of your brain so it becomes a habit. Is 1, is you move slowly. And 2, you move gently. And so, for example, the very first motion of the 8-section brocade, the hands come together and then pushing up like this. Your body, you may have a shoulder or an elbow issue or a back issue that you can't get your hands above your shoulders like this. And so, and that's as far as you can turn your hands out. So this would be your motion here. Please do not try to copycat. Don't try to mimic what you see on the screen. If you just want to glance at the screen and just see, okay, that's the general idea of what the motion is here, and I'm going to find my place in how I can move that way. If you keep in the back of your mind, how can I make this motion even more enjoyable, even more pleasurable? Make this really be worth something instead of like, well, Jason said this is good for me, so I'm going to keep doing it, even though I don't like it or something doesn't feel good in my left shoulder or whatever the case may be. Pain is a signal. Be grateful for a pain. It's there telling you something is off. Pressing both hands to the heavens. So hands come together in front of your body, raising up, hands turn out. And then hands start to raise up towards the ceiling as if your hands were, you're standing in a room with a low ceiling and your hands are pressing against the ceiling, and then back down. Go ahead and soften your knees, letting your weight be heavy down into your lower body. And hands up and back down. And the breathing is inhale as your hands are rising up your body and above your head. And exhaling as your hands come back down. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling your hands up. And exhaling your hands back down. Keeping your lower body heavy. You want your knees to be bent a little bit and your weight on forward on your feet, not so your heels are unweighted, but so that you've got more weight in the front of your foot. As if you could slide a playing card or a business card underneath your heels. Inhaling. And exhaling. Inhaling. And exhaling. Don't try to make the biggest motion that you could possibly make. When your hands start to rise up, make sure your shoulders still feel relaxed, that they're not eking up towards your ears, but they're still relaxed and resting against your back. Changing, reducing the movement any way that you need for your body to be comfortable. Okay. And then go ahead and close any movement. The hands just come over the front of the body, crossing one wrist over the other. And it's just making a clean closure to that exercise. Number 2, shooting the bow and arrow, sometimes called pull the bow and shoot the eagle. We don't shoot eagles in this country though. So both hands come up. One hand is pulling on the bowstring. The other hand turns to push on the bow. Doing it slowly, really feeling as if you're literally pushing and pulling on a bowstring and a bow apart. And then letting it go, stretching out both hands. Back down, hands back up, and the opposite direction, pulling on that bowstring, keeping your arm as parallel to the floor as you can, if that's comfortable for your shoulder and your arm, and then pushing the opposite hand apart. Having that imaginary tension between your two hands. And with your eyes looking and focusing on some sort of target. Where would you aim this arrow at? And then let the arrow fly, release the hands, and resting on back down, back on up, back to the first side. Imagining, feeling the tension pulling the bow and arrow apart, and letting the arrow go, and back down. Inhale as you pull the bow and arrow apart, feeling that tension between your hands. And exhale as you let the arrow go. Bringing the hands back down. Inhale as your hands come up. Inhale as you pull the bow and arrow apart, focusing your eyes on a target. Exhaling to let the arrow fly, releasing the hands and back on down. Inhaling, continue to inhale and exhale. Exhale, inhale, inhale, and exhale, exhale, inhale, inhale, and exhale, and exhale. Go ahead and bringing that exercise to a close, crossing the hands over each other, stopping in front of your low belly. Number 3, separating heaven and earth. You want to bring your feet fairly, comfortable width apart, not, maybe hip width, somewhere between hip and shoulder width apart. One hand is going to push down, and if you can get that hand to push down behind you a little bit, great. If you can't, you can push down at your side, and if you can't do that, you're going to push down in the front. So pushing down with one hand, the opposite hand is going to push up. If you can flatten your hands so the upper hand is facing the ceiling and the lower hand is facing the ground. My lower hand doesn't, I guess neither of my hands get completely flat, but they're in that direction there. That's fine. And then back on down, switching hands. One hand presses up, the other hand presses down. Again, like the last exercise, this is feeling for imaginary tension. If you had a giant rubber band between your two hands and you feel both hands stretching that rubber band apart and then letting it go. Inhale as you stretch the imaginary rubber band between the two hands. Exhale as you let it go. Inhaling, stretching the imaginary rubber band. and exhaling, letting it go. Inhaling and exhaling. To the best of your ability, you're keeping your shoulders level. So this shoulder doesn't start pushing down and that shoulder doesn't start pushing up. That they stay, the two shoulders stay in the same line from each other. This hand pushes down, that one pushes up, and they're still fairly level. If you have a mirror or you see your video on the screen, it might be easier to see that there to the best of your ability without strain. Exhaling, letting that go. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. Okay, we're going to add in another step to this motion here. So we're going to repeat the same direction we just did here and shift your weight. I turn my back to the camera here. So the right hand is going to go up, the left hand is going to go down, but shift all of your weight onto the left foot. Again, you want the weight to be more in the forward part of your foot. You don't want the weight all the way back on the heel. You also don't want the weight so far forward that your heel lifts off the floor. You want your heel to be on the floor, but not a whole lot of weight on it. So the left hand is pressing down, right hand pressing up. And then exhale, releasing that, shifting your weight to the right foot, left hand up, right hand down, and exhale, shifting weight to the left. Inhale, left hand down, right hand up, and exhale, weight shifts to the right, and inhale, left hand up, right hand down, and exhale. Okay. Go ahead and bring that exercise to a close. Number 4 is called Wise Owl Gazes Behind, sometimes also called the cure for 100 diseases, the cure for all diseases. I think what they mean by that is it's a gentle, gentle but effective twist to your spine, and it's squeezing all of your lymph tissue in through the core of your body. So starting again, same position as you just were with your feet are comfortable width apart here. And to start, you're going to go ahead and put your fingers at your belly button with one hand. The opposite hand you're going to put below that hand. And we'll just start one direction. So start going this way and try to move the belly button independent of the lower hand. So the lower hand's going to stay nice and stationary, and the upper hand is going to move, maybe just a little tiny bit, just a tiny little bit. The lower hand is staying very stationary. If you can't do this, that's fine. But this is something for you to practice on your own. If you can get it just the tiniest little bit, the tiniest little motion there, that barely perceptible, but you can feel or see that one hand, the top hand is moving independently. And try going the other way. Keeping the lower hand still, and the upper hand moves separately. There shouldn't be any discomfort with this. It should just feel like a mild stretch. Something like that. Okay. So we're going to take that motion in and add it into the rest of it here. So starting with your hands at your side, your palms are facing behind you. Starting with that motion at the belly button to the best of your ability. If you can't separate out that motion, then don't worry about that part for now. And moving the belly button to the side, and then moving the solar plexus, and then the chest, and then the collarbones, and then the head is going to turn. You'll probably get a lot more movement in the head. And then turning the eyes to try to look behind you. And while you're doing that whole rotation, your hands are going to rotate to face behind you, to rotate to face forward. And then go ahead and release the whole thing. Your whole body untwists to face forward, and your hands are turning to face behind you. And then in the opposite direction there, again, trying to keeping the motion focused on the belly button first. That's what's initiating the motion. And then the solar plexus, the chest, the sternum, the collarbones, and then the head, which will give you a lot more rotation. And then turning your eyes to look behind you. All of this without straining. Just make it a easy, doable action. And the hands have been rotating to face forward now. And then coming back to center. So we'll do it in a flowing action now. Inhale as you rotate, rotating around to the original direction. Your hands are rotating forward. Continue to inhale, looking behind you. Exhaling as you come back to center. Inhaling, rotating the opposite direction. Hands are turning to rotate, facing forward. Eyes looking behind you. And exhaling back to center. Inhaling as you rotate, looking behind, and exhaling back to center. Soft knees, don't keep your knees unlocked. Inhaling as you rotate, exhaling as you unwind back to center. Inhaling and exhaling. Again, keeping the weight on the forward part of your feet through the whole motion. A common habit is that as people start to rotate, for some people, they're going to lean back onto their heels as they do that. So resist that urge by relaxing your hips, softening your knees, letting the weight sink down into your feet, into the forward part of your feet. Inhaling as you rotate and exhaling back to center. Inhaling as you rotate and exhaling back to center. Inhaling as you rotate and exhaling back to center. Hi. Go ahead and bring that motion to a close. Number 5 is a big bear wags its tail. So you can't see my feet here, but I'm taking a wider stance. It's wider than hip width. My feet are about out here. And you're going to bend your knees a little bit here, provided this is comfortable for your body, comfortable for your knees and everything. And then go ahead, put your hands on your hips, turning your head to the side, and start to relax. Let go of the tension in your right, in this hip. So this is my right hip, it's probably your left. You're relaxing the tension there. And as you relax the tension, your body is going to start leaning weight in that direction there. So now the weight is all over the right foot. And then letting your weight swing forward here. If this bothers your back or your neck or anything, don't lean so far forward. You'll be more upright. And then as you get to the middle position here, your weight is going to be shifting so it's 50% on each foot, and then continue to lean a little bit more to the other side. So your weight is now on the opposite foot that you started with. And your head has continued to turn around and then coming back up, shifting your weight back so you're 50% on each foot. And then just reversing what you just did, turning your head first to the side, softening this hip right here, the hip you just came up on. So your weight is sinking into that leg till you're 100% or mostly there on that foot. Swinging around to the front, your weight shifting 50-50 on each foot, and now shifting more on the other foot. And then continue on, back on up. So that's one repetition. We'll do a few more. So go ahead and take a deep breath. And on your exhale, turn your head, let your hip relax, letting your weight shift 100% onto that foot. Continue to swing forward as you exhale. When you get to the midpoint between your feet, your weight is balanced between both feet. Start your inhale, shifting your weight onto the opposite foot. Continue to inhale as you come on, back on up. And ending your inhale when you're at the top position. Exhaling, reversing the motion you just made. Exhaling all the way to center. At midpoint, start to inhale. Inhaling all the way back up. And again, another repetition. Exhale, turning your head, shifting your weight. Exhale to midpoint, and then inhale, shifting your weight to the other foot. Inhale, inhale, and exhale, reversing that. Exhale. At midpoint, weight is 50-50, and start your inhale. So if you're doing this one correctly, you should feel your thighs burning. To the best of your ability, you're keeping the spine straight here. So what you're not doing is as you start to shift your weight, you're not bending in the spine and then curling forward in the spine there. That's not what we're wanting to do, because you won't be using the hips as much there. But that you get a strong enough knee bend, and then the bend is happening in the hip. And so the spine is staying fairly straight. And then the lean forward, the whole spine is leaning forward because it's the hip that's doing the motion. In this case, it's my right hip. And then the weight shifts. Now it's on the opposite hip. And it's the left hip that is going to bring you back up. Not your back. Not your neck. And so if you're struggling with that and you're finding yourself using your back more than you should, then okay, that's something for you to notice and practice. As long as there's no pain while you're doing it, you can learn as you go. Okay, let's do one more repetition of that. Deep breath, soft knees, bent knees, hands at your hips, and on your exhale, bending in your hip, swinging forward in the hip, weights 50-50. Start your inhale, shifting your weight, inhaling, coming up through the hip. The hip is doing the motion, not your back. And exhale, reversing that motion, all through the hip, bending in the hip. Midway, start your inhale. Inhale. And back to center. And we'll go ahead and bring that motion to a close. Okay. All right, number 6.
Jason, may
Yep.
I ask a question about that one? Is this an appropriate time?
Go ahead, yeah.
Okay. So on the coming up part of that exercise, are we pushing through the foot, to get the impetus to come from the hip?
Yeah.
Coming down.
Yeah, okay. So this is a good question. So let's just get back into that position for a minute here. And we've gone through here, and now we're going to come up on this side. So in this case, I'm on my left leg here. You might be on your right. And there's tension in this leg here because it's holding your weight, right? So you can push that left foot into the weighted foot, push it into the ground, and that will help you come up. That's one experience. If we reverse that and come back to this position here, so your spine is straight but leaned forward because you're pivoted at the hip, and you've got this leg that's holding all this tension to keep you upright. If you relax the leg, you ask your leg, you mentally think and connect with your leg and say, what can I let go of? What tension am I holding in this leg to keep me in this position that I just don't need? How much can I let go of? If you let go of everything, then you just crumple to the floor. Don't do that. But let go of tension that's like, okay, I can let that go. Well, I can let go of more tension than I realize, and letting I'm feeling my foot relax and my toes are actually spreading more. And as you do that, what you'll probably notice is that that foot starts pushing into the ground without you having to muscularly push the foot into the ground. That you're getting a stronger, just natural connection between your hip, your knee, and your foot and the ground without you having to effort. So from that relaxed place, coming back on up. Does that make any sense?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. I mean, what I just shared with you, I could teach a whole class on that. In fact, my Tai Chi teacher has done very similar exercise with me dozens of times before it started to sink in. So if that doesn't make sense, it makes sense to one person, but if it doesn't make sense to someone else, then don't worry about it. Count yourself normal or something human. But if it does make sense, then great. Okay. All right. So number 6, this is reach for the toes and then reach for the sky. It's taking both hands and putting it on your low belly, so below your belly button, or a little bit below your belly button. And you're going to spread your hands, just smoothing them across your midsection and then reaching around so your hands are touching your low back, and then sliding your hands like a gentle massage down the back of your legs. And then when you get down as far as you are comfortable reaching, it may not be the floor, it may not be your toes. You may get to your knees or your mid calf or ankles, doesn't matter. And then the hands are going to come around the front and then up the front of your body. And then your thumbs will touch, your forefingers will touch, so you create this little triangle between your hands. Hands turn, face up. You can look up if you wish, looking through the triangle, and then back on down. And then repeat, hands across the midsection to your low back, Sliding your hands down the back of your legs. Hands come up the front of your legs, up the front of your body, creating that triangle. Hands come up. And again, coming up is what's comfortable for you. You may not come up as high as I do, so don't try to copycat me. You could look through the triangle if your neck and shoulders are happy about that. And then exhaling back on down. So with the breath, inhale as you come across to your back. Exhale as your hands come down the back of your legs. Inhale as your hands come up the front. Continue to inhale. This is a long inhale all the way up, keeping the shoulders relaxed. Exhaling, hands back down. Inhale across your midsection, inhaling to your low back, exhaling down the back of your legs. Inhaling up through the front of your legs. Continue to inhale up through the front of your body. Make the triangle diamond shape. And exhaling back on down. Inhaling. Exhaling. Inhaling up the front. And exhaling back on down. Go ahead and bring in that motion to a close. Okay. One more thing I'll say about the exercise is the previous one that we did, the big bear wags its tail. For most people, that one is difficult to learn. The one we just did is for most people is a little more intuitive. It's front to back. But this whole hip rotation thing that we were doing in the big bear one is not in our movement repertoire that us Westerners seem to be particularly good at. You can definitely learn it, but it's just, so if you had trouble with that one, just keep that in mind. Okay, so number 7 is punching with an angry gaze. It could be anger. If you're actually feeling genuine anger, this is a good exercise to safely let go of some of that, process that, have it move through you so it doesn't stay held in and contained. I also think that the angry gaze can be translated as determination, focus. When somebody is in a healthy state of anger, meaning there's something that they can do, that there may be a barking. Sports coaches can get this way, and they're barking commands at their students or something like that. The student doesn't receive it as actual anger, like they're doing something wrong, but as a transmission of love and support. Some people might not receive it that way, but it could be. So just for the sake of the camera will be easier to see, I'm just going to turn to the side here. And you're in a maybe slightly wider stance than what you were just in. And go ahead and shift all of your weight onto one foot. And one hand is just going to come down at your side like this, like there was a dog coming behind you trying to get to in front of you. Just put this down to tell them to stop. The opposite hand is what's going to do the punching. So in this case, I'm weighted on my left leg and going to punch with the right. It's a soft fist with the thumb on the outside of the hand there. To the best of your ability, you want your joints to be stacked. And what I mean by that is that the knuckles are in line with the wrist and the wrist is in line with the elbow. So you're not punching like this. It's not this sort of thing. If I'm trying to get it, yeah, see, that would not be a good punch. You want the wrist to come, so this area in here is fairly flat. Now, since we're not actually physically punching anything here other than the air, and if you were to punch this way, you could seriously damage your wrist. And even though we're not punching anything here, having your wrist be in the right alignment is how the body's designed to move, how our energy is designed to move there, and it's a good thing to do. I could say more, but that's the gist of it. Okay. So I'll put my back to the camera here a little bit here. So weight on your left leg, left hand is going to block at your side, right soft fist punches forward, and your eyes are focusing on some sort of target. Shifting your weight now onto the right foot, right hand block at your side, left fist, neutral, flat fist, punching forward, shifting your weight back to the left foot, block with the left hand, soft right fist, punching forward, shifting your weight onto the right foot and block with the right hand, open palm, and soft left fist punching forward. Weight on the left foot, punch with the right, focusing your eyes on a target, and back to the right foot. Inhale as you punch and block. Exhale as you shift your weight. Inhale as you punch and block, and exhale as you shift your weight. Inhale and exhale, letting go of your gaze as you exhale, and inhale, strong gaze at your target, and exhale, shifting weight. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Okay, go ahead and bringing that exercise to a close. And number 8 is shaking the body. My favorite way to do this one lately is keeping the feet completely on the ground here. Soften your knees. And then start to jiggle. Just bounce, the feet don't come off the ground, but just bouncing your feet, bouncing your knees, provided there's no discomfort in your knees or your hips or your feet as you do this. And you're just creating a gentle, if I exaggerate it and make it stronger, easier to see on the camera, it'll be a little bouncier like this. And you're feeling for that little jiggle that you're creating through your legs, feeling it come throughout your whole body, inside your body, into the organs, into nooks and crannies of your body that you didn't know that you had, into the shoulders. This is good for the lymphatic system. The Chinese say this is an internal massage to the internal organs, which I could see how they say that. And you could wiggle your shoulders a little bit, but most of the shaking is going to be generated just through your feet, just allowing that wave to move up your body. Some places in your body might be really tight and you just don't feel like the shaking getting into that area. So that's just a good thing to notice, that as you practice, if you practice these exercises every day, notice after a couple weeks of doing these every day, what's that feel like? And then we go ahead and bring the last exercise to a close.